Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You know, we always try to get into some really fascinating and maybe even a little overlooked corners of research and different topics.
Oh, yeah.
And today we are going to be taking a look at something that is really interesting to me, the connection between autism and dissociative amnesia.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people listening are probably already familiar with at least the basics when it comes to autism,
Right.
the social and communication differences.
Mm.
But this time, we're really going deeper into this lesser-known aspect, and that is how trauma
Yeah.
can lead to these memory gaps that really impact an autistic person's life in a huge way.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because dissociative amnesia is kind of like, I don't know if you've ever had that moment where you just like completely blank on something,
Oh, yeah.
and you're like, how could I forget that?
Yeah.
Well, dissociative amnesia is almost like your brain's emergency brake.
Mm-hmm.
When something truly overwhelming happens,
Right.
the mind can kind of block access to those memories as a way of coping.
Yeah.
So it's not like forgetting where you put your keys or what you had for breakfast.
Right.
This is an inability to recall significant personal information.
Oh. Yeah.
Especially when it's tied to like a traumatic event.
So you're telling me it's not just misplacing your keys.
Yeah.
It's like hitting the delete button on a whole chunk of your life.
Exactly.
That's some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to get into today is why folks with autism might be more prone to this kind of amnesia. And that's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Exactly. And I think one of the really key factors is sensory overload, which as, many people with autism experience.
Yeah.
And so imagine like you're at a concert
Right.
or you're in a really crowded room
Yeah.
and it's just loud and there are bright lights and there are all these people around you.
That's already overwhelming for me, and I don't have autism.
And now imagine that every single day,
Right.
all the time. You're constantly bombarded with that sensory input.
Right.
Bright lights, loud noises, maybe textures that just feel really, really uncomfortable,
Yeah.
or even smells.
Right.
And so for many people with autism, they're experiencing that all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's like their brain is just on high alert
Wow.
all the time. And that can create really intense anxiety
Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
and a feeling of being really disconnected from your surroundings.
Right.
And so that can actually lead to dissociation.
So it's almost like their brain's just overloaded and it's got to shut down for a minute, protect
Yeah.
itself. But then in that process, some of those memories get lost or they get fragmented.
Exactly.
And then to make things even more complex, autistic individuals can be more vulnerable
Right.
to experiencing trauma, like
Right.
bullying or abuse, which can further trigger these dissociative episodes.
That's a really great way to put it. It's like
Yeah.
this double whammy,
Yeah.
They're already dealing with these heightened sensory sensitivities,
Yeah.
and then they're potentially facing more trauma than neurotypical individuals. And so their brain is just trying to protect them
Right.
in a way by blocking out these difficult experiences.
Right.
But that protection comes at a cost. And that cost is gaps in their memory and their sense of self.
Oh, wow. It's heartbreaking to think about.
It is.
But there's another layer to this, right?
Yes.
You mentioned executive functioning earlier.
Yeah.
Can you explain how that ties into all this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So executive functions are those mental skills that we all use
Every day.
every day for things like planning, organizing our thoughts,
Right.
our time, self-regulating our emotions.
Okay.
And for some autistic individuals,
Mm-hmm.
those skills might be a little bit different.
Okay.
And so that can make it tougher to recall
Okay.
like specific events or
Right.
details.
Yeah.
So think of it like having a library, but there's no filing system. All the information's there,
Mm-hmm.
but accessing it
Right.
is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
So, you might have this memory in there somewhere.
Yeah.
You just can't quite put your finger on it.
Right. Okay. So we've got this perfect storm brewing here.
Yeah.
Sensory overload, increased vulnerability to trauma,
Uh-huh.
and then these challenges with executive functioning,
Right.
all contributing to this higher likelihood of dissociative amnesia.
Yeah.
But how does this actually show up? Like, what signs should people be looking out for?
Well, one of the most obvious signs, as we've been talking about, is memory gaps,
Okay.
especially surrounding potentially traumatic events.
Right.
But remember, it's not just like a fuzzy memory.
Okay.
It's like that part of their life is just a blank page.
Wow.
And then there's something called identity confusion,
Okay.
which is this feeling of disconnect from their sense of self.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about forgetting what you had for breakfast.
Yeah.
We're talking about potentially forgetting entire years of your life.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, feeling like you don't even recognize yourself. That has got to be incredibly disorienting.
It is. And then, there's depersonalization, which is this feeling of detachment from your own body.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like you're watching yourself from outside.
Right.
Like you're in a movie.
Wow. I can't imagine how unsettling that must feel.
It's very unsettling.
It's like you're a stranger in your own body.
Exactly. And all of these symptoms can kind of have this ripple effect.
Yeah.
Impacting their everyday lives in these really significant ways.
Right.
It's like trying to navigate a world where the map keeps changing and landmarks just disappear.
Oh, wow.
And we've talked about the memory lapses.
Yeah.
But there's this really deep sense of disconnect from yourself.
Right.
From the world around you.
Yeah.
And so I'm really curious, what does the research say about how common this is? Do we know how often people with autism experience dissociative amnesia?
That is a great question. And it makes me wonder if we're just starting to uncover the tip of the iceberg here.
Right. I think you've hit on a really crucial point there.
Yeah.
We need more research in this area.
Right.
There aren't a lot of large-scale studies that specifically look at this link between autism and dissociative amnesia.
Okay.
But the existing research does suggest that dissociative disorders, including amnesia, are more frequent in individuals with autism than in the general population.
Okay, so while we don't have exact numbers,
Right.
it seems like this is a significant issue.
Absolutely.
That deserves way more attention. And I wonder if part of the reason we're only beginning to understand this connection is that the symptoms of dissociative amnesia can be really easily missed or misunderstood in the context of autism.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that makes it so difficult is that for some autistic individuals, they might have a hard time explaining their internal experiences.
Yeah.
And so it can be really challenging for them to communicate those feelings of memory gaps or identity confusion.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to describe something that you yourself don't even fully understand.
Right.
And then others might have routines or repetitive behaviors that are part of their autism, which could actually mask the underlying dissociative symptoms.
So it's almost like these symptoms are hidden in plain sight, making it even harder to identify and address.
Yeah, and so we need a much more nuanced approach, I think, one that goes beyond just checking boxes on a diagnostic form.
Right.
We need to really listen to individuals, understand their unique experiences, and take all the pieces of the puzzle into account.
I love that analogy because it's like we're trying to solve a puzzle.
Yes.
Where some of the pieces look very, very similar, but they fit in completely different places.
Right.
And so, it's easy to get those mixed up.
Absolutely.
But if you're not careful, you're not going to see the full picture.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the importance of trauma-informed care.
Right. Because if we're going to support these individuals effectively, we need to create environments where they feel safe enough to open up about their experiences and access the help they need. It's like building this bridge of trust so they can feel comfortable.
Yes, I love that.
Sharing what they're going through.
Yeah, it's such a powerful image. And a crucial part of that process is recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
Every individual is going to need different types of support.
So what are some approaches that have shown promise in helping individuals with autism and dissociative amnesia?
Well, beyond those memory aids and self-care practices that we talked about earlier, therapy can be incredibly beneficial. So, for example, trauma-focused therapies. Like EMDR. Have you heard of EMDR?
I have,
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So EMDR can help individuals process traumatic memories and develop these healthier coping mechanisms.
So with EMDR, you're essentially guiding the individual to reprocess those traumatic memories in a safe and controlled environment, allowing them to gradually desensitize and gain control over those difficult emotions?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And then another therapy that has shown a lot of promise is trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, or TFCBT. And this approach helps individuals understand the connections between their thoughts, their feelings, and their behaviors. And it gives them these tools to manage their anxiety, challenge negative thoughts, and develop positive coping strategies.
So it's about empowering them to kind of rewrite the narrative of their trauma and build
Yes,
resilience.
exactly.
And I know that for some individuals,
Yeah.
art therapy or music therapy might offer an alternative way to express emotions and access memories that might be blocked by traditional verbal communication.
Absolutely. Creative outlets can be incredibly powerful
Right.
for unlocking those hidden emotions and memories.
Yeah, it's about finding what resonates with each individual and tailoring the approach to their unique strengths and preferences.
You got it.
You know, it's about recognizing that healing is not a linear process.
Right.
And it's essential to meet individuals where they're at, providing support and encouragement every step of the way.
I love that. And, the journey of healing from trauma and dissociative amnesia can be long and complex.
Yeah.
It requires patience, compassion,
Absolutely.
and a commitment to really honoring the individual's pace and process.
Because there are going to be setbacks and challenges along the way.
Of course.
But with the right support system
Yes.
and a belief in their capacity for resilience, individuals can make meaningful progress.
Absolutely. And you know what we can't forget about the importance of systemic change?
Yes.
We need to advocate for more inclusive and understanding environments for people with autism and other neurodevelopmental differences.
Right.
And that means challenging societal stigma, promoting awareness, and ensuring access to appropriate resources and services.
You're absolutely right. It's about creating a world where individuals with autism feel seen, heard, and valued for their unique contributions.
Absolutely.
And it's about recognizing that their experiences,
Yes.
including those of trauma and dissociation, are valid and deserving of compassionate care.
I think this deep dive has only scratched the surface of this really complex topic.
Yeah.
But it's clear that we need to shift the conversation.
Yeah.
And prioritize the well-being of individuals with autism who are experiencing dissociative amnesia.
I couldn't agree more. This is an issue that deserves our attention.
Yes.
Our empathy and our action.
Absolutely. And you know what? We can't forget about the importance of systemic change.
Yes.
We need to advocate for more inclusive and understanding environments for people with autism and other neurodevelopmental differences.
Right.
And that means challenging societal stigma, promoting awareness, and ensuring access to appropriate resources and services.
You're absolutely right. It's about creating a world where individuals with autism feel seen, heard, and valued for their unique contributions.
Absolutely.
And it's about recognizing that their experiences, including those of trauma and dissociation, are valid and deserving of compassionate care.
I think this deep dive has only scratched the surface of this really complex topic.
Yeah.
But it's clear that we need to shift the conversation and prioritize the well-being of individuals with autism who are experiencing dissociative amnesia.
I couldn't agree more. This is an issue that deserves our attention.
Yes.
Our empathy and our action. Welcome back, everyone. We've been talking about this connection between autism and dissociative amnesia and really digging into the symptoms, how it impacts daily life. And I think we've gotten a lot of really good information here, but you've given us a lot to think about in terms of support.
Right.
But what does that actually look like? What can people actually do to help someone who's dealing with both of these conditions?
That's the question, isn't it? And I think it starts with a shift in perspective.
Okay.
We need to move away from this deficit-based view of autism and dissociative amnesia and really start focusing on strengths and potential.
Okay, so instead of getting stuck on what people can't do, we look at what they can do.
Exactly.
And build on those strengths.
Yeah, many individuals with autism have incredible attention to detail.
Right.
A strong sense of justice, or these unique ways of processing information.
Yeah.
And these aren't deficits. These are assets that can be incredibly valuable in the right environments.
So it's about celebrating that neurodiversity.
Absolutely.
Recognizing that different doesn't mean less than.
Yeah.
It means that we have this wider range of perspectives and talents to draw from.
Right.
That's awesome.
And when it comes to supporting someone with dissociative amnesia, patience and understanding are key.
Okay.
Don't push them to remember things that they can't access.
Okay.
Instead, Focus on creating a safe
Right.
and predictable environment where they feel comfortable expressing themselves.
It's about meeting them where they are.
Exactly.
Right. Not trying to force them into this box that doesn't fit.
Right. And, support isn't just about professionals and therapists.
Right.
It's about families, friends, communities.
Yeah.
Everyone working together to create a culture of acceptance
Right.
and understanding.
It's recognizing that we all have a role to play
Absolutely.
in fostering a more inclusive world.
It's a societal shift.
Yeah.
We need to advocate for better resources,
Yeah.
more education and training for those working with autistic individuals.
Yeah.
We need to challenge the stereotypes,
Right.
the misconceptions that perpetuate stigma and discrimination.
Absolutely.
And most importantly,
Yeah.
we need to listen to the voices of those with lived experience,
Right.
amplifying their stories,
Yeah.
honoring their perspectives.
It's about creating a world where neurodiversity is not just tolerated,
Right.
but truly celebrated, a world where individuals with autism
Yes.
feel empowered to live full and meaningful lives.
Well said. And I think that brings us to a final thought-provoking question
Okay.
for everyone listening today. How can you as an individual contribute to building a world that embraces
Wow.
and supports the unique needs of individuals with autism and dissociative amnesia?
That is a powerful call to action.
It's a question worth reflecting on.
Absolutely.
Because we all have a part to play in shaping a more inclusive and compassionate future.
I hope everyone listening takes that question to heart.
Me too.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me.
Yeah.
Shedding light on a part of the human experience that's often misunderstood. It's a reminder that true support begins with awareness,
Yes.
empathy, and a willingness to challenge our own assumptions.
I agree.
So as you go about your day, remember what we've discussed here.
Okay.
Be a voice for those who may be struggling to be heard.
Yeah.
And help create a world where neurodiversity isn't just accepted,
Right.
it's celebrated.
I love that.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Thank you, Acha.